Speaking of the income tax, with the benefit of hindsight, was the focus back then on equal spending in the schools, which triggered the income tax, was that right or wrong?
Certainly the proposition of reducing the kinds of distortions you had in the resources available to wealthy districts, as opposed to the poorer ones. That was an imbalance, and at least certainly what people like myself believed back then when we were young and 30-some-odd years ago is that was the right direction to go in. And that conceptually that was important. When somebody says, well, the structures you've now built in a lot of those poorer areas, are those structures really serving the kids well, and so forth? And that obviously for a lot of people that becomes a more difficult question.
How about for you?
Well, first of all, I don't consider myself an expert on New Jersey education. I'd say more broadly, look, I think the difficulty in governing this state is if you take the totality of what we do with government, meaning the fact that we want to give the localities all this autonomy in terms of their schools and the police and the fire, local employment and state employment, and the benefit levels in retirement and health benefits, etc. I think the totality of the structure that you have now, I just think if people face the math genuinely, the totality of the costs of the current structure is not sustainable. And, I'm a Democrat who believes that, wealthier people should pay more, etc., but I actually don't think ultimately you can generate enough taxes in New Jersey to sustain the operation that you've got. In other words, assuming that you basically say, I really don't care how much I tax wealthy people, I don't care how much I tax businesses and sales taxes, etc. Ultimately, just in purely arithmetic terms, it won't work, because the structure is so expensive when you look at the out-year costs, so unbelievably expensive, more expensive than the numbers that are reflected publicly, that you actually can't raise taxes to that level, because the business will disappear and the rich people will move.
Was any of this evident back then?
Well, the cost structure that we had, back then is totally different than what we. Actually, back then it did look pretty bad, but what I think you're looking at today is, a totally different set of dynamics.